What is power? What is power for me? Let me think back on my life and take you with me to analyze what power means to me. I am a psychologist by training, a neuroscientist who was trained in the US, and I live and work in Pakistan. Is power the ability to make decisions for your own? Is it the ability to stand and venture into unknown without fear? Is it to withstand pressures and tough times of life? Is it to handle problems, life-changing, personal, professional, and emotional decisions, and to meet challenges head-on? Physiological, psychological, emotional. Life is all like that. And is it accepting motherhood and career as a professional and enjoying the pleasures and the challenges of both? Starting with this, let me tell you a story. The story is about a village somewhere, somehow in the world. We don't know where. But this village had a tradition that when their young ones turned a certain age, they were turned out of the village. And there was this young woman who was told that the next morning it was her turn to be turned out of the village and to seek life on her own. This young girl was worried all night, but since it was a tradition, she had to go. So the next morning, the whole village escorted her out of the village. She stood outside the walls of the village and said, "Where do I go?" But then she started walking, and she walked and she walked and she walked to a point where she came to a place where there were two roads. One road leading to the left, one road leading to the right. And she stood there, which road should I take? So she saw this old woman sitting under the tree. She went up to the old woman and said, "Amma, which road should I take?" The old lady said, "Daughter, I cannot tell you which road to take, but I can tell you the road on the left is the road well traveled. There are people who you meet, if you take that road, you meet them, they'll guide you. They tell you of the dangers, they will tell you of the pleasures, but it is a road which is well traveled. On the other hand, the road on the right is the road which nobody has traveled. It is a road, if you take that road, you may discover immensely beautiful landscapes, but you may also encounter dangers which nobody had known about. And you may, when you travel, it is your discovery of the waterfalls, of the flowers, of the birds. It is yours to discover." So in summary, this is my story. I took the road on the right, and all that I discovered, all that I encountered was mine. Where did this come from? Was it the genes that I inherited from my mother? Is it the defiance of the norms? My mother, my grandmother, my aunts who passed on those genes to me? And they went through the 1947 partition with such hardships, and the stories of resilience were recounted many times during our childhood. Or is it my role model father, who was a doctor in the British Army? So he was trained in the British system, and no mollycoddling, no frills. We were brought up with the hardy life of a military life. So He wanted us to play tennis, he wanted us to play squash, he wanted us to go cycling to college. My mother, on the other hand, wanted us to be good women of Pakistan, learning how to cook and sew and knit and so on and so forth, to be good model women. Now, two very different rivers, like the Amazon, we swam those two rivers, and from them we learned both. Got the best education at home, and for them schooling was very important. Education was very important. They never stopped us from schooling, from early education to MSc to PhD to postdocs. So when I was selected for Fulbright Fellowship, mid-70s, I had to go alone to the Midwest Ohio. Now imagine, in the 70s, a lone young woman traveling in the middle of the winter to Ohio. Nobody stopped me. And landing there in the blizzard, sometimes I thought, if I had the money to go back, I would, but I didn't. But I learned neurosciences was something that changed my life, that changed me because I got to understand the brain. While I was doing my PhD, brain endorphins or the brain opioids were discovered. My advisor was working on it. He had this hypothesis of brain endorphins, opioids, which are underlying your reward systems, your pain systems, your bonding, social bonding, attachment, and so on and so forth. So I worked on that. So learn to appreciate that your happiness and your rewards, they're online here. What about the pleasures of listening to the birds? Here. Of holding a baby? Here. So the brain has this ability, and the neurochemicals that I discovered. So that was the appreciation of the brain. The second time I went for my postdoc, I learned about the frontal orbitocortex, the second major discovery about the brain, that this part of your brain is where executive decisions are taken. All the emotional components from the back of the brain, hindbrain and so on and so forth, controlled here. This is where your personality is. This is where your judgments are. Very interesting. So the frontal cortex, appreciation of where the rationality and the judgments lie. And then when I went back for the third time to Pittsburgh to do my senior fellowship, I worked with people who were Alzheimer's or dementia. That I discovered something very interesting about the brain, that the concept is neuroplasticity, that the brain has the capacity to learn. Neurons have the capacity to learn. Every day when you do something new, these neurons are alive and firing. Aha. So three things I learned about the brain kept me, this was what gave me the power. When I understand the brain, I understand how I can move things. But along with that, I had, of course, while I was working with the brain, I had very strong problem-solving skills and social skills. While I was doing my PhD, I was a member of many societies. I also played racquetball. I discovered racquetball there. I did fencing, which was something very new and very unusual for a Pakistani woman to do. But at the same time, which neurosciences taught me? Being rational, logical, and creative. And this creativity also came from my mother. She was an everything that you could find. She was also learned how to weave carpets. She played the piano, she played the harmonium, she sang classical songs. And on the other hand, my father, I was always happy to play tennis. So all these creativity and doing things simultaneously gave me this ability to use every opportunity, every challenge to grow. So when I was doing my postdoc in Pittsburgh and walking home at night in the blizzard up the hill, I had a comfortable life in Pakistan. I had 2 children with me waiting at home in Pittsburgh that I would come and cook and clean for them. And I said to myself, why do I do this to myself? Why do I have to do it? But sometimes things are fated which you do not know. This was perhaps the grand plan. When I came back from the US, I was a teacher, a researcher, a very happy professor. Came this opportunity, the first to set up the first Women's University of Pakistan. I stood there and I said, how am I going to do it? Ever going to do it? I asked my children and they said, you go ahead, do it. I asked my friend, she says, you do it, go ahead. For women, this is a big change. So I went in and did that. I ran that university for 8.5 years, became the first model university, after which now women universities are coming up. Then even more challenging was being the vice chancellor of the first first university in the mountains, the highest mountain ranges of the world, the Karakoram, the Hindu Kush, and the Himalayas. And nestled in there was Karakoram International University. I was so happy to be there. What challenges looking at the mountains and working on academics. Nothing like that. So the power of understanding the mastermind, the power of understanding how it controls us, that also gave me the ability to measure and to move very systematically. What I do, I learn every day. What I do, I use all my sensory organs to stimulate my brain. And I appreciate not just the brain, I appreciate everything around me. Let me just again describe a bit about myself. I'm a hardy, which is why I was able to handle the highest mountain region area. I was hardy because my parents trained us to be hardy. But I was curious as well. How do things happen? And even now, when I'm walking, I try to understand what is happening between two people who are talking to each other. And I come and tell my son, he says, oh, you are like Sherlock Holmes, always thinking about what is happening and why is it happening. But again, the third part which I could analyze was simple philosophies of my life. And these were generated from my experiences and as a practitioner. When somebody says, it's a man's world, wrong thing to say, because it's a people's world, it's a human's world, it's person's world. So I am a person, and I have the same capabilities as anybody else. So that is one thing that anybody who says this cannot be done, I do it. And then I have gone through life. I've gone through emotional and very painful life events. Plenty in a life that I've lived. So my share of tragedies and traumas, of course, they shook my life, but I learned to deal with it. I used it to grow. Remember, life is not a bed of roses. You feel the pain. And when you feel the pain, you can grow. Of course, for this sake, I have a very nice example. One friend used to come and cry to me every day. I couldn't pacify her. So I saw this once we were sitting and talking. She would come and cry, and I saw this gardener rake up all the dead leaves, dig a big hole, and put all the dead leaves in there. So I told her, look what he's doing. He's creating compost. Out of those dead leaves will emerge the best fertilizer for the world. So you can do the same. Use your experiences, negative, and grow. So negativity, no. It kills you from inside. It corrodes you. That is also what I learned. And fear, I used to be afraid of lizards. Then I had an opportunity to work with lizards for a year. Fear is gone. And never say no to a challenge. And one other thing that I learned is problems. Problems are a sign of life. Every day you will come to problems. You must appreciate it's a sign of living and life. All the problems of those who are dead are gone. They're in the graveyard. Their problems are finished. So it is a sign of life. So be happy that you have problems. And of course, when you put all this together, you radiate. And you radiate the power, inner power, to all your friends, your students, your colleagues, your children. The inner power, which started perhaps with the genes and experiences and philosophies of life, have come to a point where I am able to answer the question, what is power for me? The power for me is the power to be, to understand we are the creators of our own lives. This TED Talk made me delve deeper into myself and share my life and experiences with you and analyze how power emerged for me. Sharing in the hope that it will radiate to somebody out there to stimulate them to a turning point. Power lies within. Power to carve your own life and power to grow. Power to within, which is inside. And however, this self-discovery is a path that I will carry on with you, because you will also discover yourself. And in this hope, I am leaving you with a picture. And this picture is to show the enormity of the challenges in the harshest regions of the world. Inner power carries you forth. Thank you.